All right, so we're gonna start off with what we've always done. How many of you have ever been to a Flip My Funnel conference? A lot of you. You guys know what we're about to do, right? No need to stand or anything like that, but you can just elbow out the people that you don't like next to you. But in general, we're gonna start with a slow clap, all right? And we're gonna slow clap thinking about what New Story is doing and building homes for people who don't even know what a home means, and they're just longing for that. That's such a cool story. So let's just start. Just follow me along, all right? Just get your hands as wide as you can and just follow through. Ready, go? 1, 2, 3. And make as much noise you can now that you're here. Woo! There you go. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Andrew. This is always fantastic to be here and talk through these things. So my whole talk is around ABM is B2B. As Andrew said, I wrote the first book on ABM, and I realized 4 years later that ABM actually has changed. And there's a whole story around that. So I'm going to just share like what happened in the last 4 years since we wrote the very first book. But I'm also going to share 4 interesting things today. Number 1, I'm going to share something about parenting. How many of you are parents? All right, you're going to hate me after this. So between parenting and marketing, what's the difference there? Number 2, I'm going to share a framework that I feel has fundamentally changed the way I think about marketing and sales. I think in many ways, ABM has been a disservice to the industry, because when we say ABM, it always means that, well, marketing is doing something, right? And how many of you are in sales here? All right, so that just makes it sound like, well, sales is just going to be a sidekick. No. Sales has to be there with you, and if they're not there, it's not going to be a win. And I've seen that at least 1,000 times in the last 4 or 5 years. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to share 4 quick stories, not detail into it, because all the 4 people are speaking at different sessions today, so you can just join them. But there are 4 stories where these companies have actually gone from good to great. And I want to share those at a high level just because I want everybody to walk out of this session thinking that they can do it. There is SMB, if you might be a mid-sized company, you might be an enterprise company, you might be a fast growth company, you might have pipeline stuck, maybe you have expansion deals, whatever might be the case, there's going to be a story connected with that. So just pay attention to those. And if there is nothing, not a use case that connects with you, find me after that, because I want to know what is the use case you are running that I haven't seen in 1,000 customers, all right? And then lastly, and this is probably the most important thing, I want to share a question with you, a question that I want you to wrestle with the whole time, because this question, the answer to this question, I think will be changing the way you do marketing and sales in your organization. So those are the 4 things. So if I skip any one of them, just hold me accountable for it. So let's get started. First of all, good to great. How many of you have read good to great? All right, so maybe you can answer this question. What is greatness? And the people who answer the question, we're going to give I think Betsy over there has copies of the book, so we'll give copies up. Define greatness for me. Who wants to go? I'm starting with any eye contact, I'm going to pick up on you. What do you think greatness is?
How about Tom Brady in the New England Patriots?
Ooh, Tom Brady. There you go. That's the right thing. All right, who else? How do you define greatness?
A level or several levels above others.
Several levels above others. All right? So if you think about it, the way Jim Collins defines it, he says greatness is a choice. Now think about that for a second. It's 100% choice, and it's 100% relevant to you. What's great to you might be status quo to somebody else. And what's status quo to you might be great for somebody else. So it really depends. So when I walk through those 4 stories, I want you to think about what greatness means to them, and then align that with what greatness means to you. All right, so first thing, let's get into parenting. That's my parenting maturity curve. So that's my son, Krish. He and I we had to stay together last November for about a month, 30 days together, because my mother-in-law wasn't doing well. And thankfully, she's fine now, but my wife and my daughter had to go to India for about 30 days. And I was kind of shocked. Like, I think at this point, he's going to find out I'm not as cool of a dad as he thought I was, right? And it's an embarrassing fact, but the first thought that went through my mind was, man, can we get a 24/7 babysitter and nanny to help? I know it's very embarrassing, but that was a choice moment for me. And I stopped traveling that whole month. I'm like, I'm not going to travel. I'm trying to work from home as many days as possible so we can do all the things we need to. But that was a moment where I had to make a choice that I didn't face. And I had like either I stand up for it or I just back down from it. So in process, I ended up creating our personal, because I'm a marketer, a maturity curve, and wanted to see where it is. And disclaimer, results may vary. So don't try it at home if it doesn't make sense to you. All right, so real quickly, we went through, my wife and me, she told me 3 things. All right, number 1, make sure he's inside the house, safe, and all those things. Make sure you feed him so he doesn't go hungry. Like, I think I can do that. And then like just play with him, make sure that you are there, because I have been traveling so much and I wasn't always present, and that was on me, right? I'm like, okay, I can do that. But as we started thinking about watching TV, I could have done what most parents probably would do. He's 7-year-old watching TV and movies like Finding Nemo. But I'm a diehard Rocky fan. So we watched the entire series of Rocky. And now he and I talk about, Adrian, I love you. I don't know if anybody has seen the Rocky movie. Like, we would do that in the hallway, and my wife would be like, what are you talking about? Well, that's what we would do. The other thing, when we talk about feeding, he's like, I asked him, like, Krish, what do you like to eat? And he's like, well, I love pancakes. I'm like, okay. One day, what we would do is like, we're gonna have pancakes, epic pancakes, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Guess what he said the next day? Papa, I love your pancakes, but please don't cook for another 30 days. Right? So if you have a coworker who asks you a lot of questions or need a lot of things, just send them so much that they would say, don't send me anymore or don't help me anymore. Right? But I learned a valuable lesson, like, all right, I can do these things. Finally, this is kind of my favorite. You know, he's not a Xbox or just a gamer. He really loves to be outdoors. And I love to jump off the planes. So moms in the room, like, don't worry, we didn't jump off the plane. But I wanted to have that experience for him. So what I did was, you know what, we're going to go to this place called indoor skydiving. And that was really cool. It was like literally you lie down on the ground and the air literally pulls you up a little bit. And it was fantastic. And I still remember he's saying right after that experience for 30 days, of course we went to school, we studied, not just all fun, but he said to me, he looked at me and said, Papa, I love you. And the way he said it, I knew that he meant it. And that's a very different experience. And I thought, man, what am I doing? I've not been a good dad. And in order for me to be a better one, it was a choice. And I'm so glad I made that choice for those 30 days. So what I'm about to go through is looking at all this is like, how do we change these things? But what I want to do is apply the same thing for marketing and say, how do we go from status quo to 1.0 to 2.0? You guys ready for this? All right, let's go through it. So before that, I want you to share with me. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and we're going to play some music, but I'm going to share with your neighbor, what does great marketing mean to you? Go. Last time I did this, we did like a 2-hour workshop where I had a whole bunch of people share what that meant, but we don't have time for that today. So I'm going to just share what a lot of people have shared when I've done this presentation. And maybe some of these are the same questions, or maybe the words are a little bit different, but are probably the same thing that you're thinking about. It's about engagement, creating epic experiences, storytelling, creating personalization experiences for everybody, the human interaction that goes, creating those magic moments where you want to feel, the customer wants to feel that you care, that you are a priority for them, right? So those are the things. What's interesting is I also put a LinkedIn message this few days ago, which was ABM is ... And over 100,000 people viewed that, and over 500 or 600, I don't know how many comments are now, but at that time there were over 400 comments, and people had all kinds of answer, and when I mapped that, it mapped exactly to this. Now think that for a second. That just means that ABM is not a tool, not a tactic, but a way to build a strategy for your organization that you can win big. And it is the best and better way of doing marketing and sales. So I was surprised to see that, oh my goodness, so many people are saying the same thing. It's not like your marketing automation. It's not like email marketing. It's not like all the technology tools that we all have worked on for years, but it is the way to do it. And it's not even marketing in it. It's the account-based strategy. So when I think about the 4-year journey from the very first book I wrote, this was 2016, and at that time, I focused fully on this idea of better acquisition. That was the whole point of account-based. Is like, if you can find the right people, go after the right accounts, engage on their terms, you can get them, and those are the right customer. Makes sense. If as a follow-through, like 2017, I think this idea started popping more and more. Start focusing on pipeline velocity. You know what? Most companies don't have a demand problem. They actually have a pipeline problem. If you can get your pipeline to move a little bit faster, you'll close way more deals at a much higher rate, and you don't have to get as many leads as you need today to drive at the top of the funnel. But that was the big thing, and that was a new lesson for me. 1 year fast forward, what was interesting was account expansion. There were customers and stories coming out of nowhere saying that, hey, look, we're using this account-based strategy, and I'm going to stop calling it account-based marketing now, account-based strategy that's helping us close more deals. There are companies where 80% of the revenue come from 20% of their customers, or they have this one flagship product that actually drives majority of the revenue. They're like, we need to tell the story of other products to these companies and these customers so we can drive more revenue. And what's really interesting, and what was evident at the end of the day, was that ABM is B2B. It's just better marketing. I think I'm going to say it today because it's getting recorded, so you can hold me accountable 2 years from now. I think there won't be ABM 2 years from now. Even though I've written 2 books on ABM, it's because it will be just better marketing. It will be the way companies operate and operationalize their marketing and sales. So let's go through this framework. This is the framework. This is the second part that I want to share with you, was the framework. This fundamentally changed the way I have seen organizations operate and are actually winning in their organization. The way this works is very simple. First of all, you take the M out of it. It is not about marketing. It is about marketing and sales and customer success, 3 teams working together. Number 2, it's very simple. Target, engage, activate, measure. Team. The word team has a lot of good vibes coming out of it. Go and talk to your sales team and say, hey, let's work on these accounts together. Let's figure out which accounts to target together. So now you're talking their language. And then which accounts and how are we going to engage with them? Not that I can run webinars and stuff. No, what makes sense with these accounts that matter? So the process matters. Target first. And then engage. And then how do I activate you, sales leader? Activation is not email campaigns to your future customers. Activation is how do you activate your sales team? I think that's what I missed. When I ran marketing at Pardot and we were at Salesforce a couple of years, I think that's what I missed the most. We were not activating the sales team. And you can't win in ABM if you're doing any close to ABM without activating your sales team. So it's really important, and then measure and iterate on it. So very simple framework. But it has changed the way you can have a conversation, not only with your sales team, but also at the board level. Imagine going to your organization, your CFO and CEO, say, hey, look, I know you think marketing spends all this money on technology. Here are the tools we're using for target. Here are the tools we're going to use for engage and activate and measure. Changes the conversation. I've seen so many stories around it. So what we're going to do is use the same maturity curve, now I'm going to call it B2B, and use this target, engage, activate, and measure to share the stories of companies, the 4 companies, to go from good to great. All right? And then again, all of them are here, so you can actually spend time with them later on. Anybody know this guy? Of course, right? So in one of the recent interviews on Flip My Funnel podcast, I interviewed Seth. And Seth said something that I think I couldn't have said it better. I think he was talking about ABM. He didn't know he was talking to ABM because he doesn't care about account-based marketing as much, but he was talking about AB in the best sense possible. He said, look, most people think they have unlimited market to go after. Now, don't raise your hand because I know every time I've asked, hardly anybody has raised their hand on this one. But if you have the answer, come and talk to me later on. How many of you know your total addressable market? Exactly the number of accounts. If you close them, you're going to win and you're going to have great month, great quarter. And every time I've gone through workshops, I've never seen anybody say, I know exactly how many accounts I have. Very few, unless they have 10, 20, 30 accounts. And that actually is the reason why we need 10,000 leads at the top, not the right leads in the right accounts. So you need leads, but you need them in the right accounts. So it's really interesting when he talked about this. This is an example of a company called Masergy. They're really good at lead generation. They're getting 25,000 leads every single year, and they're fine. They're fantastic, but they had a sales and marketing disconnect. Sales and marketing wasn't working really well. And what they did was, I think what majority of you are probably, if you're in this phase of 1.0, is that let's find our top 100 accounts and go after them. Or let's find our 50 accounts, or let's find around this financial services industry. Let's just find a few and make sure that sales and marketing aligns on it, and we start going after them. And as I said, there are stories like this shared in all of these sessions. So what they saw was incredible win rate, incredible success. But even more important than how much engagement they were getting was this idea when their CEO said, oh my goodness, why are you running this only on 100 accounts? Can you create an always-on program for me so that we can run it across every single target account? Think about the power in that, where a CEO says, how much money do you need in order to run it across the entire list of target accounts? Because we need to go that, not just those 100. And the reason they were able to do that is because they saw 5 times more engagement, and this was the most beautiful thing. Their NPS score, the Net Promoter Score, went from 70 to 90%. The reason it went from 70 to 90% is because they were able to personalize and tailor on just a few, and not everybody else. And those customers are like, oh my goodness, we didn't know you have other products. We didn't know you had all these services. Thank you so much. We want to buy them. And they were able to create more engagement with their existing customers. So if you have high lead volume, and if you are driving expansion, this is a really interesting story to think about. This can change the economics of your business, your organization. All right, let's go through one more. All right, goldfish. How many of you have heard this where it said, hey, the attention span is less than a goldfish, and I think the goldfish attention span, I don't know who measured it, is about 8 seconds. How many of you have heard this? All right, all of us? Think about this for a second. Well, I don't know enough about goldfish, but I know I binge watch Netflix and listen to podcasts, and I do certain things for hours. The reality is, our content sucks. And that's why our customers and future customers are not spending time on it. So instead of optimizing just more of the pages, maybe we should create more content. Like, I cannot do anything. I cannot pay any amount of money to get 100,000 views on a post on LinkedIn today. It is just not possible. It's just one simple thing, and it connected. You never know what's going to connect, but the idea is, how do you create engaging content? Right? So I think we have to agree with ourselves and understand that, look, our content may not be as good, and that's why people aren't engaging. But here's a story I want to share of Pramada. And Jeremy is here, so you should catch him later on. He's speaking at another session from Pramada. But here's what happened. And tell me what you would do if this was your organization. Their traffic dropped by 70% when they started doing ABM. Let me say that again for people who didn't hear that. Their traffic dropped by 70%. To their website when they started with ABM. Why do you think that is? Say again? They were not getting the right accounts. So what happened was, before they started ABM, they were running many campaigns to try to get as many people to the website as possible. A year into ABM, they were only focused on the accounts that they cared about. So the pipeline was going up, the revenue of the organization was going up, but the traffic dropped by 70%. Now, if I'm in that, and I've done this in board meetings where we would show, hey, here's the traffic going up and to the right, and this is great, marketing is doing awesome. But the reality is, and this is where it's going to hopefully shocks you, like the metrics that you are using every single day, they may not be relevant anymore if you're truly doing account-based. In their case, the traffic dropped, and when they dug deeper, what happened with those? They found that, oh my goodness, now we have the traffic from the right accounts. We didn't have the 70% traffic that didn't matter anyway. And what was also interesting is, and this also might be a big lesson for anybody, if you want to take away another thing from this one, is this is it. They had 22 different tools in their MarTech stack that they were using. They ended up dropping their cost of acquisition by 60% by having only 6 tools. So what account-based marketing or account-based strategies and better B2B can help you do is actually challenge the basic metrics that you thought were holy, and they said, hey, nobody's going to touch this. They're going to change. And you're going to hear from Daniel, you're going to hear from Jeremy later on, that the metrics that you measure may no longer be valid. Simple as literally traffic to your website, but not from the right accounts. You have to ask this very important question. So what? So what if we have 10,000 downloads? Are they the right accounts? So what if we have 10,000 people on our website? Are they from the right accounts? That will change the way you think and look at metrics. In their case, they dropped, and that tech stack is all they needed. Imagine a conversation with your CFO saying, hey, look, we're going to drop it, and our cost of acquisition is going to go down now, and we're going to still have more pipeline revenue. I'm pretty sure Jeremy got a pay raise after that. He didn't tell me anything about it, by the way, and I didn't get anything from him either. Activate. That's Megan. Meg said to me this very interesting thought that I didn't really consider. She said, my title is account executive, not a lead executive. So if any one of you are still thinking, well, I'm not sure if account-based thing is a real thing, look at and talk to your sales team. All of their titles are account executives, which means they've always looked at accounts. They have never looked at leads. The reason they don't follow through all the leads that marketing give them is because you're not giving them the leads in the right accounts. You change that little thing, and it will change the game for her. So it was very profound for her when she said, my title is an account executive, not a lead executive. So let me share an example of Thomson Reuters. Jillian is here from Thomson, and she has a whole session around this. And she, like everybody else, marketing automation, focusing on how many leads we get, activating sales by just purely giving them the list. But she was tasked with 250 accounts and said, we need to create unbelievable win rate with these 250 accounts. So her whole job was to figure out, her whole team's job was to create amazing expansion deals. Guess what her win rate was by focusing on just 250 accounts at a big company like Thomson Reuters? Pick a number. What do you think their win rate was? Daniel, I know you can't tell that. Go ahead, just pick a number. 50%. 50%? Go higher. Say again? 74? Go higher. We are even scared to go higher for somebody else's win rate. Think about that for a second. Go higher. And this is a real story. You're going to meet her. Say again? 95. There you go. You get a book. All right, 95. Their win rate is 95%, folks. What will it take for you to have that kind of win rate and go to your board or executive team and say, hey, look, if we focus and did certain things, you're going to have 95% win rate. That is unheard of, almost unreal. And that's why I wanted to make sure that the people that I'm talking about are actually at this conference and doing sessions. So you can ask them how they did that. This is not some philosophy or strategy out there. This is actually how people are driving revenue, getting promotions, and having incredible careers out there. So I want to make sure that you guys recognize the power of getting account-based and making sure that it's better marketing and better sales organization. All right, last one. Since we're Boston, I interviewed Brian Halligan. Most of you guys probably know he's the CEO, co-founder of HubSpot. And he said to me, this is really profound. He said, hey, look, great companies create business model innovation, not product innovation. Think about that for a second from an example of Snowflake. And Hermie is speaking today as well from Snowflake. They're probably running the highest scale campaign that I've seen in ABM of sorts. So definitely check out her session. But they had inbound and outbound, just like everybody. And more interestingly, what they started to do was 500 concurrent campaigns, one-on-one, which means one ad, one message, one landing page that's not form fill, one direct mail, sales working on one persona at a time, and adding more personas as they go. When I say one-to-one, the level of depth in it is phenomenal. And their open rate and click-through rates on their emails, their ads, their messaging, is just crazy because they know who they're going after. So their ad will literally put the name of the company they're going after. So when they go to that particular website, that landing page, it is about that company. Their engagement rate, people are spending time on their website, which we all know is the currency. But here's what Daniel Day said, which was something that I was like, wow, this is how it should be. He said that I'm able to do two things that I never thought I'll be able to do. Number one, I'm able to go and tell my sales team where they should hire salespeople because I know based on fit and intent how many accounts we have in that region. So if you want to double our sales numbers and you want to hire people, let me tell you, we should hire 2 salespeople in Boston because I know we have 100 accounts in Boston and we can support that. He can do that with fit and intent data. He said, I thought I would never be able to do that. But here's even more interesting. He's able to help salespeople with probably the most challenging thing ever, which is how many deals are we really going to close this month? So what he's able to do is look at all the analytics and be able to say, oh, let's say, what's your name? Allie, all right, let's say you're a salesperson and say you have 50 accounts I want to close. And you said, I'm very optimistic, like most salespeople are. We're going to close all 50 of them, right? And Daniel is able to come to you and say, Allie, there are only 5 accounts that are spending time on our website. I can look at in all the analytics that I'm getting from these 4 or 5 tools. And these 5 accounts are the ones that have the highest propensity to buy from us. So let's prioritize on these 5, and let's forecast on these 5, and on all the 45, they're gravy. Imagine what will change in the forecasting for your sales and marketing organization. So I think marketers today have more power than ever did, and these are real stories and real people here at the conference sharing these specific examples. But don't let me miss this point though. When we go through this whole maturity curve, and all this is in the book, and there are like 350 copies of the book around, don't miss this point that is 100% starts with where you are and figuring out what you want to improve. So the fourth and final thing, I shared with you the parenting stuff. I shared the IDF team framework. I shared the 4 stories. Let me just connect the dots between parenting and marketing real quick. If you are 1.0, I realized with my kids that mom and dad had to be aligned, and I want Krish to be in as many activities as he needs to, right? Because he's like 8. That's fine. That's the same thing for marketing and sales. You may have ton of different tools in your technology right now in your MarTech stack, and that's perfectly fine. And that's what you might need right now. But over a period of time, you're going to change. And as a 2.0 dad and mom, I think what we need to do is act as one team so our kids know that we have the same philosophy and stuff, so they know there's no crack. They know exactly what we mean when we say yes or no or go there. They're never able to figure it out. But also means that I want my son to be the Michael Jordan of whatever sport he wants to go in, which means we may have to go to fewer activities as opposed to all. I think it's no different than 2.0 marketing and sales. I think you might be surprised to figure it out that you're going to work at marketing and sales as one team, not ABM or ABS or ABX or whatever. It is one team. And number 2, you will be surprised pleasantly, so will your CFO and CEO, that you might actually need less tools than you thought. So here comes the final question, the one question that I want you all to wrestle with. And it's very simple, but probably is the game changer. And this is what I think every one of those stories are actually all about. What matters to you? Does it matter to you that you have a better targeting? Does it matter to you that nobody reads your newsletter and we still keep sending the newsletters to them? Does it matter to you that people spend time on the website because the messaging connects with you? And does it truly matter that sales and marketing have the same KPI and metrics? If those things don't matter, I think we can skip the rest of them and just go in the slot machines over there. But if those things do matter, I would say that pick where you are, self-identify where you are on this team maturity, B2B maturity curve. And then for the next 10 days, next 30 days, say, I'm going to figure out better targeting with my sales team. That's all. You don't have to do everything. Or, oh, we got targeting. I'm going to figure out how to better engage with my customers. Or I'm going to just figure out how do I activate my sales team, because without them, I can't be successful. Or maybe you just focus on your measurement. But whatever it is, you have to start figuring it out and just dial in a little bit more for the next 10, 15 days. Can we do that? All right? All right, so I think that covers it. You can listen to the podcast. If you need the slides or a copy of the book, you can text to 33777. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Cool.